Well, hey everybody, welcome back. More fun at the Red Barn. This episode is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to cover a bunch of different things just to kind of get caught up on all the different elements of what's been going on. Some of it's on the plenum, some of it's going to be on suspension, some of it's going to be on other stuff. Okay, one of the items I wanted to get you caught up on was what's going on with the shifter. And, well, actually, nothing's going on with the shifter, but the shifter cables. As you know, our friends at EAG were going to make me a set of shortened cables, and I sent them the dimensions for that, and then I started having trouble getting a hold of them reliably, and then I started seeing videos on YouTube about assets being seized and investor issues and all kinds of crazy drama. I'm not into the drama. I just need shifter cables. So some of you may have seen either the podcasts where guys were talking about this or some of the other videos out there on YouTube where they're talking about it, but EAG may be no more. I have no idea. I just know that it's not looking like I'm going to get my shifter cables from them. So I sent some photos to a couple of different custom cable companies, and our friends at Control Cables responded immediately and said, hey, that looks like something we make something like. And so I'm going to get some dimensions down to them, but it looks like I'm going to be able to get a set of cables made. You know, they make shifter cables for all kinds of different stuff, including things like X-Trax, Mendiola stuff. So I had a nice conversation with Greg from Control Cables here this morning, and I'm going to get some dimensions down to them. But it looks like we're all set to have a set of cables hooked up, literally hooked up. He's going to hook me up with a set of custom cables, and far less pricey than some of the Ferrari-oriented sorts of prices that I was expecting. Anyway, so good news on the shifter cables. Let me tell you a little bit about what's going on under this deck lid relative to some of the suspension stuff and axles. I got a couple of engineering challenges that I wanted to cover here. One, if you take a look at how close that exhaust pipe is to the trailing arm at full droop, I want to put a V-band right there, and that is going to be way too close. So I need to address that somehow. The other thing is, this is at full droop too, and it's going to be difficult to show you, but this is the axle output shaft, and this way down here is where the input would go. So I've got a pretty steep axle angle. Now they make pretty high deflection CV joints. Some of the off-road places can make up a set of axles, and I've talked with them, and the angles shouldn't be too bad. But to minimize that, both of these issues, what I'm going to do, it turns out, is they can put droop limiters inside these shocks, inside most shocks. And so I'm going to have these shocks, quote unquote, shortened. So when they're at full droop, they will not be this long. And that'll help minimize any axle issues when I've got the car on jacks. And it'll also mean that I won't have to worry about clearance there and have to like turn the tube in unnecessarily. I may do that anyway from an aesthetics perspective or muffler routing, but I don't have to. So I'm going to be pulling the shocks out and dropping them off at a local place here at Sonoma Raceway, Sears Point to us old folks. And they're going to go ahead and take care of droop limiters, which is very cool. Solves a couple of problems for me. And now we're back to welding on the plenum. And here Martin's just doing a couple tacks on the top side. But what you're about to see is we're checking all the time to manage the distortion. And as we were welding on these things, the turndowns were moving measurably as they were first getting tacked in place. So what we're doing is he'll tack in one place, we measure, see how it's moved, the part, and then he'll come back and tack on the other side and pull it in a different direction to get it to be as equal as possible. They're not absolutely perfectly perfect because it's, you know, handmade, but you can see the number of times it's like tack, tack, check, tack, pull it back down, add a big fat tack in one place, check for level, or not level, but we're measuring gap and distance to try to get them as even as we can possibly get them. And then once that's done, we're back to regular old final welding. And there you go, with all the final welding done. Here's just a shot in the car, and you can see how much not visible that front section is. And even with the lid up, you know, we haven't dressed the corner at all, and here it is. You really got to look for it, but that'll get all taken care of. And then once it's painted, it should be very cool. Now, one thing is likely to happen is probably going to do away with the welded look and either flow those out and grind them, or come up with some other idea to make that look like it's a completely cast piece. Because I think the welded look, when you look at all the other stuff that's smooth there, I think it's going to look better if it disappears the welds. So really happy with how that's coming along, and now we're on to the next thing. And here it is with the trunk lid back on with some fabulous tape to kind of close up that gap and just give me a better idea. But I think that is really cool. I'm super happy with how that turned out. And yeah, with all the hackness that's going on, there is an element of distraction, you know, what with the burnt stuff and the red and the chipped off and the polished and the different finished aluminum and the orange and yellow and black and tape, and you know, it's a little bit difficult sometimes to get a feel for what it's going to look like. But I try to maintain, you know, kind of just a general vibe on how things are looking. And since you can now see what's going on. All right, we've talked about this a little bit. This curve, I'm going to give this a try. And as I've said, this is a sacrificial deck lid, so it's just going to keep getting cut up and messed with and welded back together and hot glued and bondoed and who knows what, until we come up with something we like. I am going to go after cutting this curve, at least on one side, and try to get a determination of how far open this thing needs to go so that this starts to look the way I want it to look. And I don't know how I want it to look because I haven't gotten there yet. But the real kicker is going to be, how much of a curve can I add before this straight section starts to look like it needs to be modified? And it may be, you know, it may need to be modified immediately, which would mean this would have to be pushed forward a little bit and the curve would actually start back here. You can see we're playing with some ideas here about what if we made it really big, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, and then for 2 seconds, we thought, Martin and I were kicking this around, but it's like, wait a second, what if we curved both edges of this and brought the leading edge of the trunk forward and had the curve here, and just had, you know, this whole kind of, this thing's curved, this opening is curved, and not a lot, but just a little. But what became a problem with that idea is the drive-by-wire motor. It creates more of a problem on this side. It solves the problem over there. It creates the problem over here. So this really can't curve in. We'd have to curve it down here into the trunk, and it's like that messes with the target top storage. And so we're going to just try, as I mentioned, we're going to try going for one curve at the front and see how that looks. So let me go ahead and get started on that. Well, as you saw, that didn't work at all. I couldn't get the clearance I needed for the tin snips. And this thing's turning into nothingness. So what I did is I just ran over with the zip wheel and separated it right at this corner, and then tin snipped out this arch. And again, rough cut just to get some ideas. So put this back on here. And as mentioned, I did not cut this side, so we can do a visual compare. See what we like. Oh, I already like that. Now, what do we got? So you can see what's going on here. But boy, oh boy, look at that. It really opens things up for that throttle body. So I'm going to just chip away at seeing if I can trim this piece and keep finagling that to get it to fit. All right, that didn't really work. This has got a bunch of shape to it. In order to get it to curve, it's got to be shrunk in here. In order to get it to drop, it's got to be stretched on the vertical. So I think I'm just going to cut it out for right now and just play with the overall shape. But it gives you the idea. It really opens up that throttle body. And that curve, I don't know, that curve seems like it might be subtle enough. You know, once everything's put back together, this is starting to feel a little cramped. And maybe from over here, you get a better feel for it, right? I don't think that's horrible. I don't know if I like that corner out there, but this is, you know, such is the design process. And I'm no car designer, so a lot of this is, I'm trying to be super critical of the idea, you know, because if something is like this, you know, and then a curve, if it doesn't work, then this has got to get, you know, this would be easy enough to just pie cut this and move this piece forward, and, you know, just push this little drop of this grill down, and, you know, start the curve right there. I think I could make that work. But I think I like that idea. It's so subtle. And, you know, with this curve coming down here for the sail panel, and this curve going like this, and the arch of the deck lid. The other thing is, from back here, you know, you got the curve of the roof, you got the curve of the trunk, and you got that curve. And that, by the way, the engine lid does, you know, it's not dead flat across the car. I think this can work. It's going to be a question of, is that far enough forward to make it look good? The other thing that happens is, when this starts to get a grill, forget that this is not the right size and stuff or shape, you can actually see through it better in the video than you can in real life. You just can't see anywhere near as much stuff. It really starts to hide things. I think I like that. Messy though it may be, which is why I said earlier, with all this stuff that's hacked up and different colored and oversprayed and bent and rusted, it's a little hard to get the complete vibe. So you got to kind of, I think the saying is, if you squint, it's mint. I'm going with that. I think that can work. I think that starts to look cool. You know, curve, curve, curve. Anyway, let's see how far we get with this idea. There it is. One fully curved rough cut. And I think that actually is going to work really well. And like I said, rough cut, you know, looks like it needs to come off a little bit more there, but that is getting it done. I really do think that's the way to go. Yeah, yep. Because that curve actually starts to make it look like it needs to do this, because it's getting wider as it goes up, which is exactly what it needs to do to accommodate the throttle body turn downs off the plenum. So happy there, very happy there. So now to try to figure out how to duplicate this, starting with a good lid and really zero in on the measurements. But I'm liking that. Here's one for the tool horse. This is a really nice Makita sheet metal tool. You can see there's little jaws in there, and it just rips right through sheet metal. So I'm going to go ahead and trim some pieces so I can start doing a little bit of return on the curved part of that engine lid. Makes quicker work of that. Better than tin snips when you can use it. Well, now I got the shrinker stretcher out, and I'm just going to start working a little bit of a curve into this. This is pretty thick. What is this? This is like, I think this is 16 gauge. So this is a bit too thick for this really, but I'm just going to give it a bit of a try and see what we get. And again, just rough idea on mostly what I'm trying to do here is get a feel for what this return might need, you know, how this return might work and how much it needs to stiffen it, but not trying to move it too much. Nice thing about it is there's a stretcher on the other side, and if I a shrinker on the other side, so you can kind of play back and forth and tune the curve to get it to go exactly where you want it to go. But here you can see, can you see? Just a little bit of a curve there. So what I want is for the sheet metal part of the engine lid to sit here and just kind of give me an idea of what this depth of return might look like. because this affects the visual, what's exposed on the throttle body, in the throttle body area. So we got a little bit of a curve this way, and we also know that there's an arc in the engine lid going this way. So I've got to do a little bit of a compound bend, if you want to call it that. It's got a curve like this to take care of the shape we just cut, snipped into the top, and then it's got a curve this way. So this had to be stretched to get the curve on the inside. This one's got to get shrunk to get the curve to go this way. So I'm going to come over to this side with the stretcher. Or excuse me, I get this backwards. Play with the shrinker. And I haven't even cut this piece out of the way. Like I say, I'm just playing. But this will give you an idea of kind of what I'm playing with. And here, I'm going to take you for a bit of a wild ride. But you can see, well, I got to trim that corner off to get a true fit. But I think the got a little bit too much of a curve in it. But not much. I got to cut this part off. Okay, let's see how we did. Now I've just bent this out of the way. Obviously I'll cut it off. But as a first attempt, a little bit too much curve in there. I'm going to take some of that curve out. And maybe it's a bit too flat. So let me go back to the shrinker stretcher. And yes, I'm not efficient. Yes, I should make a template, but it's a slow day. But there you can see, I took a bit of that curve out. So I got to take a little bit more out, kind of starting right here. And I think I got a little bit too much curve in it this way too. So a little bit less everywhere. Yeah, maybe the third time's the charm. Yeah. Yeah. That's getting it. That's getting it. I like that. Now I am going to do one dorky thing here, and that is to vice grip this on here for a second. Yes, I know, again. But now you can see what I mean. I need this return to give me the real visual of what sort of, how it's going to look. Because you can see if I come over to this side, right, with no return, it looks like it's, way big, and it's like, if I like that look, then you can see that I actually need to make the curve deeper this way. But even just that, even just having a tidy return on it, compared to that hackness over there, it just really starts to clean things up and gives you a much better feel for how it might look. So I'm going to go ahead and actually remove this and get an even better idea. And then with that piece removed, obviously more trimming to do, but it really starts to tidy up the look, right? And ideally, what I can potentially do is try to figure out if I can make a piece that looks like this. So have that, have it come up the same way, or we change this piece down here to look like that and simplify this whole frame. So that all remains to be seen. Lots of stuff to work out. But the curve, the opening, the size, I think that's starting to get it. I'm not sure about this, as I mentioned earlier, this straight going to the curve, it might be, I might need to look at that a little while, but because you can kind of see curve to straight. But yeah, just look at the difference. I mean, from here with this ragged cut to that, it really starts to make it look like it can work. And I don't know if it's coming through in the video, but it really, the shape, I think this shape really works. So I'm just going to say that is absolutely positively a thing that's going to happen. The rest of it is going to be, what do we do to change all this? Because remember, this frame's got to come down, and it's got to get, all the way around this opening. So this has all got to be changed. And maybe what we do is just cut the deck lid here, shape it, you know, cut all this stuff off, leave this here, and make a whole new frame that just carries this very simple look out here. We do have to be able to affix grill to it though, so some more things to work out. But we will work them out, as we always do. I think that may be enough for this episode, so if you haven't subscribed, please give that a thought. I'd appreciate it. It'll help the channel out. And any questions or comments, please leave them below, and we'll look forward to catching up with you again real soon. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.